Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us on our webinar today on the future of occupational hygiene. At the end of the session, we'll be doing a Q&A. So when we get to that point, you'll see at the top there's a little chat box for anybody who's unfamiliar with the Teams layout. And then it should open on the right-hand side. Please type your questions in as our presenters talk today, and we'll run through everything at the end. During the session, if we can ask that you just keep yourself muted. I can mute you from this side if by any chance you do accidentally unmute yourself, so not to worry there. And then if you don't feel like you need your camera on, or if you don't want to be in the recorded, feel free to turn your camera off. That can speed things up for other people as well, but it's completely up to you. That's my wee technical house rule bit done, so I pass over to our presenters, and I hope you enjoy the webinar.
Thank you, Lee, and good morning, everyone. I think we're up to, I've lost the count now. Where are we? How many people there are? We were over 70 just 88. Now. 88, yeah, which is brilliant on a Thursday morning. So good morning, everyone. Alex and I are delighted to have this opportunity to share with you some of the, what I think are very exciting activities which the Faculty of Occupational Hygiene and the BOHS are undertaking to promote both the profile and impact of occupational hygiene as a profession. You may well have read about these initiatives via exposure, but today is a chance to hear from us and for us to hear from you, the membership. Thank you to those who took the time to respond to the survey, and we will hopefully address most of the questions as we go through the seminar over the next hour. Before we start the presentation, I will draw your attention to one very important fact, and that is that this year BOHS celebrates its 70th anniversary. I'm not going to ask if anyone on the call was there at the at the start of BOHS, but this new PowerPoint template, which you're seeing up on the screen now, shares with you for the first time the 70th anniversary logo. And you will be seeing that a lot more over the next 12 months. So happy 70th anniversary to the BOHS. Just as Lee said, if everyone can keep themselves muted and also turn off your cameras, please. Thank you. Okay, so just a quick introduction for those of you who don't know me. My name is Sarah Leeson. I'm currently the registrar for the Faculty of Occupational Hygiene, and I've held that position since 2019. I followed quite a traditional route into occupational hygiene. So I did a BSc in chemistry. I then followed the preliminary certificate route to gain my qualifications. Many of you will have taken the P-certs. For those of you who wonder what I'm talking about, they were the precursor to the modules. I then achieved the certificate of operational competence, and then subsequently the diploma in professional competence in occupational hygiene. I also did a distance learning MSc in occupational and environment health and safety management at Portsmouth. And I will now hand over to Alex for him to introduce himself.
All right, well, good morning, everybody. Again, my name is Alex Wilson, and just a bit of an intro. I've tried to follow a similar format to Sarah, because it does, I think, sets the scene for what we're talking about today as well. So I'm the current president-elect of BOHS, so very honoured and excited to be in this role. I followed another route in terms of my professional kind of growth as an occupational hygienist. I was lucky enough to do an undergraduate environmental science degree at Bradford, as a number of our members did as well, and kind of majored in occupational hygiene there, which allowed me to progress through to my certificate. Again, a slightly different pathway, but maybe more on that later. I have finally got my finger out and got my diploma in occupational hygiene, which I'm very proud of. And yeah, it's a long time coming, but yeah, for those of you thinking about it, do it, because it's the feeling is good enough by itself, but the fact that you can call yourself chartered is a special thing, really. I also did a distant learning MSc, this one in workplace health at the University of Nottingham, which was interesting and gave me a little broader scope of things. And I've just put up here as well to give me some kind of evidence that I might know a little bit of what I'm talking about. I was very, very fortunate to attend the Future Leaders Institute from the AIHA back in 2011, which I cannot believe was that long ago now. But that experience has significantly changed my outlook in terms of my professional growth as a person and as a professional. So it's something which a few other BOHS members and other members from other international occupational hygiene associations have been able to do, and it's a fantastic experience. So there you go, that's me. Okay, so just moving forwards with regards to introducing the session today. As Sarah said, it's a fantastic opportunity for us to share. Also to thank you for already contributing and looking forward to hearing more. And this is very much the first of many opportunities we hope to engage with BOHS membership and wider audience on this. It's not just we're going to do everything in a dark cupboard and tell you at the end. So it's very much something that we want to make sure is a back and forth discussion. So just to set the scene, really, this is the BOHS's strategic aim for our current 5-year strategy. It's to position the BOHS as a key scientific and professional body influencing change towards a healthier working environment. So that is our strategic aim. So it's okay saying that. Well, how are we going to demonstrate it? And these are the key objectives really that we're going to use to show that. But I've just highlighted 3 of those in grey to just show that kind of this is how today kind of played into the bigger picture from a BOHS strategic perspective. So you can see there professional standards as a benchmark, BOHS awards as the gold standard in what we do in our education, and growing our membership and engaging with our membership and increasing participation there. So again, this is just to help set the scene for today. With regards to the Faculty of Occupational Hygiene strategy, as you can see here, it follows on from this, and it's all about providing leadership with regards to the UK's occupational hygiene professionals. There's 5 aims listed down there, but again, we've pulled out a couple of those which are kind of important for today, which you can see is to continue to develop all levels of hygiene practice, raising our standards and accessibility, and to provide that technical, scientific and non-technical skills as tools to use to develop our profession. So something that we'll touch on later, but again, it shows that the work that we do is all through delivering the strategy. So hopefully this shows how we've linked it to that. So in terms of today's webinar, we've really got 5 key areas to touch on. Sarah's going to talk initially around the competency framework and the professional register. I'm going to touch a little bit on the non-technical soft skills side of things. We're going to have a very just tiny brief update on the professional pathways piece of work, and then hopefully we'll have some time at the end to do a lot of Q&A, which is important as well. So I'm going to hand over back to Sarah, and she can take you through the competency framework piece.
All right, thank you, Alex. All right, let's just go straight on to the next slide then.
Go.
All right, so over the past, I think, 2 years, I guess, the faculty has been working to identify the nature of competence which is required for the practice of occupational hygiene. And this goes very much hand in hand with the work which has been published already on improving the competency, or how consultants can demonstrate their competence, and the faculty has already issued guidance on that. But the work we're doing here on the competency framework is very much aimed at all professionals and making it easier to understand both the knowledge and the skills, and that can be technical and non-technical skills, which are needed for each level of professional qualification. And the idea of that is it will guide professionals through their development, because I hear quite often comments that there's sort of perceived to be a big gap between associate, licentiate and diploma, and people not really being sure how they move from one to the other. So the competency framework hopefully will be a useful tool to aid people in that professional development. The competency framework will look at defining what are the required competencies, how each of these can be developed, or also importantly, how each is assessed. The framework is still in draft at the moment, but what we're looking at is, well, the aim of the framework is that it will provide a clearer set of goals and progression requirements for professional development, that it will go beyond the traditional technical and knowledge-based skills and include the need for professional and interpersonal soft skills, and it will underpin the criteria applied for non-faculty members and internationally qualified practitioners to join the register. And I'll be talking about the register in the next few slides after this. We're conscious that the framework may highlight gaps between the current module syllabus and the standards expected for professional progression, and therefore guidance will accompany the framework to show where some competencies can be obtained, because not everything will be in the remit of the training provided by the BOHS. And while core competencies have already been documented within the qualification guides for both the certificate and the diploma, these have mainly focused on the technical skills. And up until now, there has not been one single resource for documenting progression through the different qualification levels. So I thank you. We've talked about the survey earlier, so thank you for those of you who did respond. And I'm delighted to say the majority of members who responded expressed support for establishing a competency framework and also provided excellent examples of the non-technical aspects which they felt were important. And we'll go on to those in the next couple of slides. The framework will assist also anyone who might specialise in one area and thus not follow a traditional progression path, because we're very aware that over the years, the model of a traditional all-rounder occupational hygienist has sort of transitioned into, we do still get the all-rounder hygienist, but more often now we'll have people who are specialised in one area and may find it more difficult to understand how they fit into the occupational hygiene framework. So the Faculty of Occupational Hygiene Committee has been drafting the competency framework over about the last 18-24 months by one of the strategic working groups, which was set up when the faculty developed its 5-year strategy. And it's worth emphasising here that that strategic working group includes faculty members who are not on the FO committee. So we've already opened up the consultation on the draft competency wider than just the FO committee. And this webinar really is the start of member consultation. I'm hoping a draft of the competency framework will be ready to share with the membership very soon. And at that point, and if there's any questions coming out from here, we'll welcome your open and honest opinion. There's lots of different competency frameworks out there, and it's also, I think, at the moment where we're at the point of how much detail do we include in the competency framework. So the next couple of slides just show some of the examples of the technical and non-technical skills which were suggested as the survey. You might say, why is this colour-coded? So hopefully we don't have any colourblind people on the call. So the green topics here are those which are currently covered by our W500 series of modules. The two topics in amber are ones which used to be covered by the PCerts, which I mentioned earlier, which is what I did for my training, but aren't currently covered by the modules. And then the 5 topics at the bottom are ones which we don't currently cover as part of our training framework. And then the next slide goes on to the non-technical skills, which people suggested. Would emphasize here, and this was a couple of comments which people made, we are not proposing that BOHS will be the provider for all of the non-technical training, and indeed possibly some of the technical training. There's a lot of experts outside of our profession, and the idea is with the competency framework to provide links to where people can go in order to gain competence in this area. The effective consultancy I've popped under here with the non-technical skills because there was a need to actually just guide consultants better. And obviously those skills are both technical and non-technical. And I'll leave Alex to talk more about the non-technical skills and the soft skills a little bit later on. So just checking, there's nothing specific on there at the moment. All right, so that's what I was going to talk about with regards to the competency framework. We'll now move on to the professional register. This is something very, very keen about. And I think this is very exciting and something a lot of us have been wanting for occupational hygiene for a long, long time. So again, hopefully you've read a little bit about this through the articles and exposure. But where we are at the moment is we are in the final stages of obtaining approval for the Faculty of Occupational Hygiene to run a UK register of occupational hygienists. And that register will be regulated by the Professional Standards Authority for Health and Social Care. So over the past 2 years, the faculty conducted a gap assessment of our current practices versus those expected by the Professional Standards Authority. And I have to give credit here to Kevin, our CEO. He really set us on the road here to doing this gap assessment. So we are where we are today. Really huge thanks to Kevin for steering us in this direction. So once the key gaps had been addressed, we were then in a position last year to formally apply to the Professional Standards Authority to run a professional register. So the Professional Standards Authority helps to protect the public by improving the regulation and registration of people who work in health and social care, by accrediting associations that register practitioners in unregulated occupations, such as ours. It provides additional regulatory assurance of the quality of service providers. There's a hyperlink there, which obviously you can't be able to click on, but if you just Google Professional Standards Authority, you can go onto their website, and on there you can see examples of the professions who are already approved, and have a look at other people's registers if you so wish. So what will the register do? So it will provide a definitive list of the occupational hygienists identifying themselves as competent to provide occupational hygiene services in the UK. It'll provide a means of protecting the title of occupational hygienist. And the way it will do that is if somebody is on the register, they will be entitled to call themselves an occupational hygienist. If somebody is out there and calling themselves an occupational hygienist and is not on the register, then they will not technically be an occupational hygienist. So the register is an important step towards further ensuring the competence of those providing occupational hygiene services, and thus a means of improving the quality of occupational hygiene provision. So the list will be relevant for both employers or consultants, and the register will be open to faculty and non-faculty members. The entry level for the registrants will be associates and above, but annotations will be on the register in line with the BOHS Buyer's Guide to indicate that there's a clear indication of practice restrictions for an associate versus a licentiate. The register is for individuals, whereas the consultants directory is for companies. So we have had questions, why are we running the two? So the directory will continue, as I said, because that's for companies, but a prospective buyer of occupational hygiene services could find a company through the consultants directory, and if they then so wished, they could check that the individuals of that company are on the register. This will be a voluntary register, but I would say here our expectation is that any practicing occupational hygienist in the UK will choose to join the register. So the people who responded to the survey, I was delighted to say all members expressed support for the register and provided some excellent comments and questions. One of the questions was around cost. So there will be a cost for the registrants. For faculty members, this will be minimum, and we're looking at that to be £25. And that essentially just covers the fees which BOHS has to pay to the Professional Standards Authority. And BOHS is subsidising this fee for faculty members. You will have seen emails to say that the registration, so our membership renewal has been extended this year. So rather than renewing in January, it's been extended to April. And that really is to compensate for that £25 registration fee this year. For non-faculty members, the cost will be higher, as there will be additional costs associated with verification of qualifications and competence. That cost has not yet been confirmed or approved, as the non-faculty processes which will be required have not yet been finalised. BOHS will also not be subsidising the fee for non-faculty members, and the hope from that is that non-faculty members wishing to join the register who are eligible to join the faculty will join and therefore join the register via the faculty route. So all faculty members will be able to join the register, and as I mentioned, we do hope that all faculty members will choose to do that. Would emphasise here the HSE, and I'm not looking at my list of participants at the moment, so I don't know if anyone from the HSE is on the call, but would say here the HSE is hugely supportive of the register. In line with this, a faculty professional risk matrix has been developed. Some of you may know the BOHS has had its own risk matrix for quite a while, but up until now the faculty did not have one. Again, that's still virtually in the first that has been developed and could be shared with the membership in due course. We're planning for a phased approach for the rollout of the register. So phase 1 will be this year with faculty members first, and then being opened up to external applicants once we have all the necessary processes in place and have gained some experience of running the register. So there are some activities which we still need to complete in order to prepare for the register. That's it. So this is some of the work being done behind the scene. So the development of the actual physical register. So head office are leading the charge on this with the IT systems to physically set up the register. There's communications and guidance to be developed both for users, membership and the general public. There'll be an update required to the faculty regulations and the code of ethics, and also some work just to define the governance process. All of those activities are in progress at the moment. We are on track for launching the register around the time of the conference. So again, quite exciting with this, only sort of 4 or 5 months to go for this. Once the register is launched, we then are aware that there are some updates which will be required to the current CPD scheme, and that links in as well to the work on the competency framework. And again, we'll be looking to ask for input from the membership if they've got different ideas for CPD. And I know we've got some Dutch contingency on the call today, and their process, for example, for ongoing accreditation is quite different to what we have at the moment for BOHS. So I think my final slide for this section is around a different register, and you may have heard of this. This is the Regulated Professions Register. So this is sort of running in parallel to our BOHS professional register. And this is a regulated professions register operated by the Department of Business, Enterprise, Innovation and Skills, easier being called BEES. So this is a government-led register, which has been required as a result of Brexit. So BOHS took part in consultation with BEES and has applied to be included as a chartered body on their register of regulated professions. So this is a little bit of chicken and egg. So we need to be a regulated profession. We get that by having our register approved by the Professional Standards Authority, and as such we can then apply to be on this regulated professions register. And what this will do is act as a gateway to inform anyone coming into the UK to carry out occupational hygiene services. This will tell them what qualifications and experience they need. There's no specific date on when this register will go live, and this register will just point to BOHS as a regulated profession. It will not list individuals or companies. So as I said, this is something which will be is a government-led initiative. I can see there's quite a few questions coming up, but we will go through those and there'll be time to address those towards the end. So I'm now going to hand over to Alex, who will take you through some of the non-technical skills, soft skills section. Thank you.
Super. Thanks, Sarah. No, really good overview and yeah, really informative. So yeah, it's my little bit to cover the non-technical or soft skills, or however you want to define them, really. And again, just thanks for those of you who did answer to the survey. Sarah referenced it before with some of the questions and feedback on the register and the competency framework, but there's also some really good feedback and suggestions and ideas around on this area as well. So I'm not going to tackle every question and point, but we have taken those things into account. And also, I think from also what we're reflecting on, this is, Sarah's already mentioned this isn't going to be BOHS becoming a provider of said things, but it's more or less like a conduit or a identifier of opportunities for you to go and seek those out. So this is just really to kind of help set the scene and really explore what it means and what we can do about it, really. So yeah, skills to be an effective professional, I thought was a good way to lead off on this. We need our technical skills, but there's also another set of skills which we tend to develop organically, actually. Some people better than others, and some people enjoy doing this side more than others. But it's an area that it actually is really, really important. And I remember sitting down with some senior hygienists when I was a little bit younger, and they were kind of described it as a bit of a vortex. So as you carry out through your career and you kind of move around, and you might become, you would say, a junior hygienist or an analyst or something like that, then you get to be the supervisor, and all of a sudden you're managing a team, or you move into a corporate position, or you move into a senior position in a consultancy. The skills that you picked up at the bottom of this vortex, all of a sudden you need to start thinking about your different skill pathways, and you need to kind of come back around and gather those skills, but then further improve on them, because you're in different situations and different scenarios, either with clients, stakeholders. So it's a really important thing to kind of decide what direction your career or your professional growth is going in, really. The image here shows 2 lines, but it could be 99 lines, really. But there's a bunch of really exciting things to think about, and really to think about how we set ourselves up as individuals and professionals. The next slide, some of you will have seen things like this before. We have an amazing body, which we all know about. That's why we aim to protect it in what we do. But we sometimes don't utilize the availability of that. And I often do it through training. We talk about the art of occupational hygiene. Well, we're very technical focused, and we collect numbers using science and data, which is very much the side of the brain that loves that kind of crunching of the logic. But we actually have another side of our brain which loves to express the creativity and the stuff that makes us fantastic hygienists. The observational side of things, looking at that the bigger picture, the visual, emotional side, rather than just the fact-based, systematic approach of the other side of our brain. So again, just kind of setting that up, really. It's the way that we think ourselves as professionals. For us, we need to utilize all of ourselves in order to become better professionals. So this is an overview of some of the soft skills, non-technical skills that that were fed back in the survey. Some I've stuck on there as well. And this just shows you an array. This isn't a definitive list by any means, but it just showed you an array of different types of skills or types of working that we're talking about, that we can look to explore to, again, be that bit better kind of professional, really. One thing is that it's all about building up that toolkit and being more effective in what we do. So you can see there, in terms of just looking on the slide now, so simple things like time management, but you look at broader subjects like emotional intelligence and really digging deep into that. You might think, well, that's a little bit far-fetched, but it helps you either be better with your clients, be better with your senior managers, sell. Control needs to be invested in a workplace that might cost £250,000 or £1 million or something like that. So you've got the influencing skills and negotiation skills, which are all kind of great value in exploring as part of our competency, really. So we really need to think of what value can this bring to me and my career, my workplace and the profession, as part of this competency piece. How can we obtain these skills? There are lots of outlets out there. We do often need to probably define some that are good sources of information and training, but numerous books, numerous online information. How do we show that we can use them? So if we're looking at this competency framework, then, oh yeah, I've got these types of skills, but how do you use them, and how can you show that? It can be a challenge, but it's one that we need to consider. Showing how they bring value, and how we can measure them as well. So covering them as part of case studies, examples, written exams, oral examinations. How can you show that you've got numerous other skills and other competencies that make you that broader professional? So taking that kind of broad aspect into account, and the broad membership that we have, it's important that we provide opportunities for all different types of members that we've got. So Sarah mentioned before specialist routes. We have hygienists that work in academia, in research, in multinational organisations, in small companies, in consultancies. And each of those roles will require a different utilisation of these types of skills. But it's something that hopefully we'll gain a good understanding of how to help you think about this, and also encourage you to explore it as part of your professional development as well. So just jumping into one aspect here, this is something that I've been introduced to a long time ago, and understanding personality types and how people work is fascinating to me, and it helps you gain better conversation and relationships with people. And there's lots out there. There's lots of tools to do that, and that some of those are listed on this slide. But being able to kind of read a room and read people to go in at the right point can be really vital. And yes, we do love to put ourselves under a certain title or a label, but in some situations it does work quite well. However, I would not go into a room and say, "Hi, my name's Alex and I'm a D," or something like that. But you never know. You never know. So what we just thought was we'll give something back this morning, and just to lighten things up a little bit, we just got a little teaser personality test. So this has been sold as the shortest personality test currently available on the internet. There's 4 questions. So what we'll ask you to do is quickly look at the question, and there'll be 2 sets of answers with a title above each one. So very, very quickly browse the answers, and then take your first gut feel, because that's possibly the one that is the leading inclination decide, oh, well, I'm a bit of both. But there will be a gut feeling to say, well, I'm actually more this than the other. So we're going to do this now, and then we can point you in the direction of the results at the end. What I would say is when we get to the results at the end, if you've got a phone with a QR code scanner, get it ready and write your letters down. You'll need 4 letters to create a type as well. So this is based on Myers-Briggs type indicator, but it is not a Myers-Briggs test. So we'll take it away and see how we go. So first question here. So how do you get your energy? So again, quickly look at the bullet points there on the left hand side and the right hand side, and then very, very quickly note down if you're an E or an I, an extrovert or an introvert, with regards to how you get your energy. Okay, give people a little bit of time to read through them all, but should be okay. You can check a time as well. We don't want to lose time for questions at the end. Okay, so I'm going to move on to question 2. The question 2 is, how do you see the world and gather information? So again, look at those bullet points there. So are you a sensor or an intuitive, an S or an N? Okay, so question 3, how do you make your decisions? Are you a thinker? Are you a feeler? T or an F? My wife was doing this now. She'd be looking at me hard and knowing exactly what she'd choose for me on this one. Okay. Hopefully you've got through those bullets. So last question, question 4, how much do you like to plan ahead? So again, are you a judger or a perceiver? So again, just take your gut, once you've read them through, take your gut feel. There's possibly 2 or 3 bullets that have stood out every single time and gone, oh, that's definitely me. So that's generally what you'd be. Okay, so yeah, that's the 4 questions. We might do something similar to this in one of the PDCs that we're planning for the conference this year, but it will probably be a little bit broader. So just a little plug for a PDC that we'll be running prior to the conference in June that Sarah mentioned earlier. So lots of good things to pull you towards the conference this year. Never mind the fact that it's in Leeds. So that's just another bonus. Right, so this is the results page. So you'll be one of those scenarios there. As you can see, there's a bunch of different scenarios. I generally come out as an ESTJ. That's me. I've done the Myers-Briggs numerous times, and generally I'm an ESTJ. If you scan that QR code that's on the screen now, it should take you to the Personality Club website. Which is where this test is taken from. If you scroll down, you'll see the grid with these scenarios in. So in your own time, you can click on each of the scenario that you defined yourself as, and it will give you a little bit of information about it and just help you explore a little bit more about maybe what type of personality type you are. And also then maybe if you're with colleagues and friends, you can ask them if they've done a similar test to this. It's a good way to work out how to approach people. What information do they like? Do they like bullet points? Do they like lots of information? Do they like numbers? Or do they just like straight facts and just ways that they think and work like that? So it can be really useful to have an understanding of stuff like that. So a little bit of fun, but also quite serious at the same time. It can provide you with a number of benefits. So there is the URL up there as well if you haven't got the QR code scanner. What I will do actually is maybe I can put the URL in the chat while Sarah's talking about the next bit, and you can also access it that way. But we thought we'd test your technical skills, and using the QR code it's definitely one to sign off. So anyway, hope you found that interesting. I'm just going to hand you back to Sarah for the next little part.
Thanks, Alex. So you and I are a bit similar then. So I came out as ESTJ as well. Oh dear.
Only the best.
All right, so the final section here is just one slide, pathways. So this is around the pathways to progression. Alex, can you just move forward onto the next slide? Thank you. So in line with everything else going on with the competency framework and applying for the register, we've also been reviewing the pathways to the profession in discussion with other professional and educational stakeholders. And again, this is all around trying to increase the visibility of occupational hygiene as a career and the obtainability of occupational hygiene as a career. This is early stages of this work at the moment, and we're keen to obtain member input. So again, thank you for the comments which a few of you sent in. Responses were generally supportive of retaining a modular training route similar to how as we have at the moment, subject to the current choice of modules being reviewed. One challenge we're encountering is just around the educational pathway, and that's the way hygienists obtain ongoing training and how new IHs obtain the necessary sort of mentoring and training which they need. So historically, and the way I started off in hygiene, working for a big manufacturing company, most hygienists, you were one of a team. So you started off as the newbie, but you had experienced senior hygienists with you who could help train you and provide mentoring. And that's not necessarily the case now. There's far more sole consultants out there, or people working for a company and they are the only hygienist. So we're conscious, where or how do young or new hygienists go to get that training and mentoring they need. So again, any ideas on this and input would be gratefully appreciated. As I said, this is early stages, and hopefully more on this topic to come during the course of the year. But just wanted to have it out there today to let you know this is something which the faculty is looking at.
Fantastic. So yeah, go on, Sarah.
No, I was going to say that brings us nicely onto the time for the Q&As.
Yeah. So I've noticed we've already had a few questions, but obviously take some time. If you've got any other questions, stick them in the chat, as Lee said before, and we'll try and answer those. We can pull together the ones that have already been asked. But yeah, we hope that the webinar has been a bit of a useful insight into what's been going on. I think right at the start, this year is a very exciting year for a number of reasons. The register is really exciting, as well as the other kind of aspects of the 70th platinum anniversary, the BOHS, looking back at the 70 years and really looking to see how things have changed or what's not changed at all, actually. But yeah, just very good and exciting things and opportunities to take part in as BOHS members and as occupational hygienists, really. So that's great. In terms of some of the questions. Lee, did you want to be question master, or are you happy for me to go through? What do you want to do?
I'm happy for you to carry on. I've seen we've got one question that was answered in the chat box, and then there's two questions, one that's had a couple of likes on it. So I thought we might begin there if you've seen that one. But I'm happy to read it. I've got it in front of me as well.
Yeah, go on then. Yeah, go for it.
So did BOHS compare the job task description and competence, required knowledge and skills with the schemes and profiles in the USA or in other European countries? And are there any major differences?
Yeah, so I'll take that. So that's going back to the competency framework. So yes, we did. We looked at the AIHA competency framework. I believe another one, oh gosh, which other one did we look at? And yesterday we were talking about some role descriptions which the South African Society have issued. So yes, we did. And with the responses to the survey, a couple of members also sent through examples there. Are there major differences? I wouldn't say major. There are some differences, but then that's also around the way the professions are structured in different countries. I don't know if that answers that question sufficiently.
Yeah, well, I'll look to see if there's any follow-up questions on that. We've got another question here as well. What about members located outside of the UK? Will the register extend to include non-UK based members?
Okay, so by the nature of the register being regulated by the Professional Standards Authority, which is a UK authority, the register is for any hygienist practicing in the UK. So that could include somebody who is located outside of the UK, but comes into the UK on a regular basis to practice. I mean, it wouldn't be, we had a discussion about the scenario. So, somebody who works for a multinational company, global company, and a hygienist from another country comes in to provide support for 2 or 3 weeks during a turnaround, for example, that scenario, you wouldn't expect that person to be going onto the register. But if they're, for example, on assignment and coming into the UK for prolonged periods, then in that case, yes, they could apply to join the register. But if it's somebody who's based outside of the UK and always practices outside of the UK, then they would not be eligible to go onto the register. And as I said, that's around the fact that the rules of the Professional Standards Authority.
Excellent, thank you. So I'm just going through questions. So in terms of the slides will be sent out, so the recording will be sent out with the slides. I would like to think tomorrow, so keep an eye out for those. For the annual conference, we've had a question there, so that's in June. Let me just double check. It's June 12th to June 15th in Leeds, which I know Alex is very excited about. So you can find more information on that on the events part of the website.
And just on that, Lee, so there are a couple of questions about that. So it's kind of gone into June just because of the way that other things have fallen in and around the calendar of the wider scope of, I guess, worker health and other associations and groups doing other pieces of work. So I've noticed for some people, they've said that the summer isn't as good as being back in the April time where the conferences used to be. It seems to just been the way that it's fallen. I think it was June last year because of the fact that we held the previous conference in November and it pushed it a little bit, so there wasn't two very, very close together. This year, I think it's just carried on as June because of the way other things have fallen. So I'm not Marie, I'm not the conferences manager, and I don't know if Lee, you've got an answer, but I don't see a reason why the conference might not change. Obviously, certain sectors have different busy times. It is warmer in June, which is always nice, but it really depends on how things go. So I don't think it's set in stone, but obviously this year the conference is in June. Next year is an IOHA international conference, so that changes things up a little bit more as well. So I'll say it's not set in stone, but for this year, it will be June. So we hope that obviously people can join us as much as possible when that happens. So.
Yeah, there's nothing more to add. I think you've hit the nail on the head as to why it's split out. It separates everything nicely in terms of the, you've got LEV coming up in February, onto May for IP Nano, and then to June for OH, and then October for asbestos. So it does balance them out quite nicely. It means everybody can logistically make as many conferences as they're physically able to.
And that's just BOHS related conferences. That's not all the other things that are going on by every other group and body as well that happens. So yeah.
Yep, we've got another few questions here. We've got about 10 minutes of scheduled time anyway. As an older hygienist qualified through this route, are degree courses in occupational hygiene dead in the water?
I was looking at that question. No, excellent question, Bill. I'd love to say no, they're not, but in reality, I think unfortunately the answer is yes. And this is all around, universities are only interested in running courses which will make the most money, and there just isn't the demand out there at the moment for a dedicated occupational hygiene course. Saying that, one of the strategic working groups for the faculty committee, strategic working group 3, is all around looking at how we can incorporate occupational hygiene training and modules into further and higher education. So there are a lot of discussions going on with universities and higher education facilities to look at how occupational hygiene can be incorporated into existing courses. There's even talk of like a summer school being run. Realistically, I can't see us going back to it being sustainable from a cost perspective for a university to run a pure occupational hygiene course.
And then we've got a couple of more questions actually. Will statistics and mental health feature in future learning as they are topics not covered in modules?
Statistics, we are actually looking at revising some of the guidance which is provided on statistics. And if anyone's interested in helping this, there's been perceived a need for some guidance just on basic maths for occupational hygienists. There is some guidance out there issued by the AIHA, and we're looking to how we can adapt that. So any volunteers who've got a passion around maths, please let me know. But yes, we're looking at how they could be incorporated into future learning. No timetable on that at the moment, but yes, it's on that list of areas where we're aware there is a potential gap. While we're on the subject of technical guidance, though, I'll use this opportunity as a plug. One of the things the faculty committee has been really busy on last year, and that links back to some of the strategic aims which Alex shared earlier, is the technical A to Z guidance on the website has been newly refreshed and populated, so there's easier to find technical guidance, and that is all available on the front end of the BOHS website, so available for members and non-members. And also there's an archive A to Z technical guidance. So some of the older guidance, I think the thermal stress series, which is quite out of date, but it's amazing how many times head office get asked for that. That is available now on the website under the archived A to Z index page. So sorry, quick plug there. If you haven't looked at that recently, I would your attention to that.
Thank you for that. We've got another one here. Can we open up to IOSH members to be a kind of technical level member so they can do noise surveys and air monitoring?
Gosh, this is almost if somebody was a little fly on the wall during a meeting we had yesterday. We are looking at sort of defining what a technician could be, and this sort of goes back to some comments made earlier on that we're aware there are some hygienists as well who sort of stay very much as may do one module and then just stay in that field and don't expand. And we're looking at how we can make sure they're under the umbrella of the faculty as well. So I haven't got an immediate answer for you, but we are looking at how we can make sure we capture those people who are doing some form of occupational hygiene work, be it IOSH members or members of other society, but we would want them under the sort of the faculty umbrella, so at least they're then working to the code of ethics.
We've got a question here with a couple of likes, so people want to know the answer to this one. You identified potential subject gaps in the modules. Do you think these will be included in future modules or be additional courses run by external providers outside of the modules?
Early days on that. So that's Damien. We haven't addressed the question yet on how we will provide some of this training or who will do it. And obviously there's a lot of work involved with writing new modules, but we're aware there are gaps, but we haven't got the plan in place yet as to how all of those gaps will be addressed.
Thank you. And we got another one here. What promotion of the register will be given to industries, as some industries will not have heard of BOHS and so won't know where to look?
No, excellent question. That's something, again, we're very aware of. And that is going to be part of the communications to both members and industry. So there's more to come on that. But yes, we are aware we need to get a lot of communications out about the register.
And somebody said, I like measuring things and I feel totally incompetent to approach the mental health side of things. Should this really be included in the occupational hygienist toolbox?
When it says, should this really be included? I'm not sure. Is that asking, should it be as in it needs to be, or questioning whether you can interpret that both ways? I'm not sure.
I would answer it. I would answer this one, Sarah, saying that some of these topics won't be mandatory, and it really depends. It really depends on where you find yourself in the work that you do, and increasingly there are a number of us that might expand into other areas of health protection, and mental health might be one area. There will be a vast majority of hygienists that will do what we originally and traditionally call occupational hygiene, measuring stuff and putting control recommendations in place. If that's the case, that's fine, but there might be an opportunity for others to use that other piece to develop their competency in other areas. I think that's all the suggestion around some of the other topic areas.
And I think, a lot of these questions, one of the parameters on how quickly we can address some of these items is around resource, because a lot of this is done, by our pool of volunteers. So, we've still got, I think it's 99 people on the call. If anyone's interested or has a particular passion on a topic or just like to help and hasn't been involved, please just drop a note to head office. We are always looking for volunteers to help with this. And, in theory, the more volunteers we have, the quicker we might be able to address some of these items. So please don't, however much time or little time you can donate, is that the right word, or help with, it would really be appreciated. So just drop, contact anyone in head office, and any volunteer is always welcomed.
And somebody's asked, is it possible to download the BOHS certification scheme, job, task description, required knowledge and skills, etc.?
The qualification guide for this certificate and diploma are both downloadable from the website. That's what we've got at the moment. I think that answers that one. And
there'll be more and more information comes available as part of the register piece, won't there, as well, Sarah? So yeah, but that's not available yet.
And somebody else has asked, are there BOHS work groups?
Work groups. Well, the faculty has a series of strategic work groups, which as I mentioned, includes both members of the committee and non-committee members. There's lots of different groups involving volunteers. I don't think it ever went live, did it, Alex? There was that volunteers register, which
there is a piece of work that's happening in head office at the moment, which is looking to kind of provide more opportunities for volunteering to members and creating a bit of a kind of a volunteers networks. There are a number of groups out there, as Sarah said. Some of those are faculty based, some of them are BOHS based, and BOHS are always on the lookout for people to support them in writing things, in getting involved in committees or groups, or going to events and things like that. So there will be something coming from head office this year around the volunteering piece, but it's just it's another plate that's currently spinning, and we just need to make sure that does get delivered at some point.
And the problem I guess we have at the moment is whenever we're looking for volunteers, it's the people who've typically sort of volunteered in the past or been involved who we know and approach again. And I'm sure, a lot of you on the call at the moment may be willing to volunteer, but wouldn't be names we'd automatically think of if you haven't been involved before. So yeah, re-emphasize again, if you're interested in volunteering, please put your name forward.
And somebody else has asked, is there a future scene for incorporating more public and environmental health in our portfolio themes going forward?
Potentially. I think we want to get it right for our core occupational hygiene practices and competencies first.
Okay, we've just got, I think, still getting messages in. I think there's quite a few questions, so I understand people might need to leave, but like I said, this is being recorded if you want to catch up at a later date. Another one here, the transition to include non-technical skills is critical, and can you confirm system thinking in practice courses, i.e. Open University, will they be considered for inclusion?
I don't see why not. I don't know how easy it is to find out what Open University courses are available, but I know the person who would know the answer to that. Yeah, I mean, is there a fee associated with Open University? I don't know. Yeah, we'll be looking at all avenues who are all facilities who are offering the training. So I don't think we're ruling anything out at the moment.
Yeah. It's part of the competency assessment of the register, Sarah, that you mentioned earlier, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And do you have criteria for a certified OH lab?
So that's something that the BOHS doesn't. So we don't run a certification scheme for laboratories similar to what the AIHA do. We tend to obviously lean on UCAS accreditation and using the ISO standards with regards to the methods and that analysis that come with it. So that's the current state of play at the moment. That we don't have any plans to roll out a lab certification scheme from a BOHS perspective.
No, the only labs which are certified as such are the 2 or 3 which provide the isocyanate monitoring under the GAL license.
Yeah,
but that's one very specific type of monitoring. Yeah.
And do the certification scheme registration criteria relate to the OHTA trainings?
Currently they do, because it's using the 500 series modules.
Yeah.
Excellent, thank you. Have BOHS considered education through FE colleges? This is something we're looking at.
It's something that's been discussed a lot, Sarah, isn't it, in the past? And there's been certain projects that have been run by members and stuff, and it's finding the right position to set the scene for these kind of things. But it is definitely something which has been discussed.
It
If you
is.
want to add anything more, Sarah, if that's a good enough answer for now.
No, I think that's good enough, and I touched on it when I talked about the strategic working group 3, looking at these modules which could go into higher and further education. So.
Excellent. So I'm just reading through. I think that a couple of the messages now, just people obviously needing to shoot off. So I don't think I can see any.
There's just one there. There is a comment, kind of comment / question. So it's someone trying to climb the ladder to licentiate level. There's a lot. They've said there's a lot going in place around that, and it says it almost seems unachievable. I would argue, as a non-faculty, I'm a faculty member, but I'm not on the faculty committee. But I would argue that the work that's going in now, it will make these pathways and opportunities easier to achieve our professional qualifications. So all this work is hopefully providing opportunities for people to progress through the faculty from associate to licentiate, and then as we said earlier, through to member and chartered status. So hopefully that answers your concern, but this should actually make things easier rather than more difficult. So hopefully that's
yeah, thanks for picking that up. I've just seen that one, Alex. Yeah, we're certainly not, and hopefully it didn't come over, we're not putting more steps in place. The guidance should be helping to make the steps a little bit smaller, if anything.
It's like I said, don't think there's been any more questions. I don't know if there's any other the comments that you've seen that you want to talk about, or
some nice suggestions of other modules and topics in there as well, and someone volunteering for the mental health one. So we'll pick those names out and those topics and jot them all down as well.
Yeah, so on the volunteering side, if you want to send it through to anything you think you could put your name forward to, the marketing@bohs.org inbox is the one that I look after. I think the one that a lot of people use is the admin at bohs.org as well. So just get in touch. We've got a video on the YouTube channel as well about volunteering, about how to get involved, the kind of things that we ask for volunteers for. So there's always something to be helping out with. So thankfully the information's out there. And if you, like I say, email either marketing@bohs.org or sometimes admin@bohs.org, somebody will be there to help you out and put you in the right direction. But I think we've just a couple of more thank yous. So I think, yeah, people are having to shoot off. So is there anything else from either of you before we wrap up?
I would just say, thank you for all the questions, and I'm taking the number of people in this webinar to be, everyone's really interested in the future of occupational hygiene. So there's a lot going on this year. If we do get some more volunteers, that will be great. There will be more communications and member consultation, certainly on the competency framework, very soon. So, and when those emails go out, I know it's yet one more email, but please, that really is the chance when we're sending things out for review. Your comments and your feedback really do count. So if you can just take the time to read and feedback, and we're wanting this whole process to be as open and transparent as possible. But no, thank you all for attending today.
Yeah, no, support everything that Sarah's just said, and yeah, great turnout, good questions, and good engagement, and we'll look forward to the next few months and the rest of this year.
Hopefully see lots of you in Leeds.
Yeah, if not before.
Yeah.
Excellent. So yeah, thank you, Sarah and Alex, for joining us. Thank you for everyone who's joined the webinar. All your questions have been really good. I'm sure they've been useful for other people listening as well. Keep an eye on the BOHS website for more webinars coming up. We've got quite a few coming up in the next couple of months, so keep an eye there. And yeah, hopefully we see more people face to face in the numerous events we've got over the year. So on that, I will wrap up. And like I say, slides and webinar recording will be sent out, I would say, on Friday. So please share it with anybody who you don't think was here today and might find the information useful.
Great stuff.
Thank you.
All right, take care, everyone.
Bye bye.
Bye now. Bye.